In a single moment, your life can change. Moments with Marianne is a transformative hour that covers an endless array of topics with the best of the best. Marianne's guests are leaders in their field, ranging from inspirational authors, top industry leaders, business and spiritual entrepreneurs. Each guest is gifted and a true visionary, a recognized leader in their own work. They teach others to develop, refocus, and grow. Marianne will bring the best guest and sometimes a special surprise. Don't miss this. And remember, make every moment count.
Welcome to Moments with Marianne. Today we're here with my very special guest, Donna Visocky. Now, Donna wrote a book. It's called I'll Meet You at the Base of the Mountain. It's extremely heartfelt. I'm so excited that she's here to share her book with us today. So welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you very much, Marianne. It's wonderful to be here today.
It's so great to be here with you, too. I know we had, it was like one natural disaster after another until we finally got our time here today booked.
I'm sure it's all perfect. This is the perfect timing for the show.
I would agree with you. I would 100% agree with you. So, I know that you have some, you wrote this book, I'll Meet You at the Base of the Mountain. And it really is this heartfelt book that talks about your journey as a mother. And it's actually as a mother who loses a child, but also your journey into your spiritual awakening, the start of your own spiritual journey.
It was my journey. My daughter, Kristi, was killed in a car accident in 2003. She was 21 years old. And it set me on in a new place. And the book, in the beginning, the first few chapters are pretty raw, because I was really raw when that happened. But, my story starts after Kristi died, and I went to a Compassionate Friends meeting for parents who've lost children. And a woman came up to me after the meeting and said, "Your daughter was standing behind you all night long, and she's a beautiful girl." And she hands me her card, and it says Angel Reader. And she was a medium, a psychic, and she was actually there as a parent because she had also lost a son. And, it's like, what the heck? I don't know anything about psychics or mediums or angel readers or anything like that. I didn't know what to do with it. But you're so desperate to find answers and to connect with your child. It took me like a month to get up the courage to go see her, but when I did, I was able to connect with Kristi, and it set me on a whole new path. First, I started reading all the How to Talk to Dead People books by James Van Praagh and Sylvia Browne, and then I started reading How to Talk to Your Angels, and then Conversations with God jumped off the shelf at me, and, so I'm just, reading and searching and looking for answers, and it just opened up this whole new world that was out there, but I didn't see it. It wasn't part of my arena, and it sent me on this journey of exploring and trying to get answers and opening up and awakening, and it's been fascinating. It took me 10 years to write the book and explain it, trying to put into words everything that I had experienced since Kristi's death and where I, coming out the other side. It was interesting.
Well, and I know that during your journey, you had another very gifted person tell you that Kristi said that she'd meet you at the base of the mountain. The actual title of the book.
And that, was the title of the book. And I had this friend, Kimmy Rose, who I had met at a conference, and we just kind of hit it off. And she, too, was a psychic. And after she went home, she sends me an email and says, Kristi has a message for you. She said she'll meet you at the base of the mountain. And then she goes on to describe this big, lush green mountain and this river and this rock formation and everything. And I said, Kimmy, I don't know where that is. A year later, she came to Fort Collins, and she was doing gallery readings and that. And she calls on me, and she said, Kristi's here, and she has a message for you. And she gives me the same message. She says she'll meet you at the base of the mountain, exact same message. And I said, Kimmy, you told me that a year ago, and I don't know where that is. And I felt like I spent that last 10 years searching for that mountain, looking for Kristi, trying to connect with her, and then all of the things that I experienced in between. And I won't tell people where the mountain is because they have to read the book.
Yes, they do. We're not going to talk about that. Yes, and definitely they want to order the book, from your website, Amazon. They do want to get the book and really hear about the base of the mountain. But and that's and here this took you, is kind of propelled you on this journey. This 10-year journey, and on, I don't know necessarily if it's ongoing, because you get to a certain point where you're able to, meditate and connect and kind of hear your daughter for yourself, as opposed to having people giving you messages so much, But here you are on this 10-year journey, like a loving mother, and trying to make that connection, just still wanting to make that connection, and just all the places it took you to.
Well, and it did, and I was working, I had my day job, and I was executive director of the symphony, and I wanted to hear these people that I've been reading these books and everything, and it's like, well, nobody comes to Fort Collins. I live in Fort Collins, Colorado. Nobody comes to Fort Collins. I want to hear these people. I want to see these people in person. And so I was used to, doing events. I've been doing events my whole life, and I thought, well, I'm just going to bring somebody in. So I brought in Sonia Choquette, and we had 500 people there. And it told me that other people were looking for answers too and had these same kinds of questions. And so I started a company called Bella Spark Productions. Bella means beautiful in Italian, and Kristi was a beautiful spark, and we're all beautiful sparks. And so I started this company. I started doing events with all these different speakers, and it's been, it's amazing to work with all these people who have such a wonderful message and everything. So I learned so much along the way, and but again, I think at some point you get to this place where you need to find these answers yourself. It's in you, not somewhere else, and so it took me a while, but I think I'm getting there.
Well, we all have to start somewhere. I know on my spiritual path, when I first started, I was getting answers from outside of me, and then I got to the point where it's like, none of that resonated. It wasn't a fit. And when I would meditate and get my own answers, life was simpler. Things were easier. And it just felt like, okay, this is what I need to be doing. But that is a transition. That definitely is. It is, yeah.
Exactly. And I was so lucky, and it was so interesting in one of the books that you write. It was all about me. Because you think you do these things for the world, for healing other people, for helping other people, bringing this wonderful information to other people. But as I look back, I realized that everybody I worked with, and I worked with Greg Braden and Deepak Chopra and Shirley MacLaine and Wayne Dyer and Marianne Williams. I mean, all these amazing teachers, Joe Dispenza, and I realized it was all about me. It was everybody I worked with was somebody who had something to teach me, and I think that's when we look back on our life, we can see all the little things and people that have shown up in that to teach us, to show us, who we are, and help us on our journey. And so it's fascinating.
I've often thought about that as, the people that I come across on my journey, my everyday walk, they have a piece of my puzzle, So they have something that they're going to give me that, just makes life more complete. I'm able to, fill that spot where otherwise if I didn't have that information or those insights, or, sometimes it's just a hug, just, depending on who
well, and the reverse is true also. I mean, you have something to give them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So we're all actors in other people's place.
Aren't we all?
Uh-huh.
It very much feels like that, So, but yeah, so that this whole journey, I mean, and it's, I know some wonderful things, as tragic and as awful as Kristi's passing was, there were some really wonderful things that also sprung from that. You have the Kristi Fund that really, is making a difference in a lot of people's lives, and she'd probably be tickled pink about that,
I think she is. My husband started this right after Kristi died. My sons actually said, well, we need to do a golf tournament. We need to do a memorial golf tournament. And she died in May, and we did this tournament in July, and we had like 230 golfers or something at this tournament. And we started doing scholarships for young women, and then we've kind of expanded it over the years. And we've been doing it every year since then. And we've given away over $500,000 either in scholarships or to support other organizations. We built a house for Habitat for Humanity. And it all came out of this. One of the things that Kristi said to me in the very first reading that we had was, we agreed to do this. And it had more to do with my soul's evolution than hers. And I realized that, that we all agreed to this before we came here. And then when you look at all of the things that came out of it between, Bella Spark and all of the things that I've done, and like you said, the magazine and the Kristi Visocky Foundation, it's called Kristi'sFund.com, F-U-N-D, Kristi, KRISTIFUND.com is our website. But, that's been my husband's way of coping with the loss, is to create this foundation and give back to the community. And so we all find our way, our piece of what we're supposed to do, but it wouldn't have happened, if Kristi was still with us, probably.
Well, and she very much was the catalyst for the fund and, your own personal, growth and really kind of getting out there and developing Bella Sparks in the way that you did. I mean, it really was very profound, and that's quite an undertaking.
Yeah, but I feel like Kristi was my partner and was guiding me the entire way. And I have lots of funny stories on that, and I always ask for signs. The angel, when I'm reading these angel books, they say, well, ask for help or ask for signs and things like that. And I had done a series of events in Fort Collins for a couple of years, and I decided I was going to expand to Seattle. And my sister lives there, so I figured that would be an easy transition in that. And so I remember this date. It was 2007, December 30th. And I'm having lunch with these two psychic women that I had just met, and we're talking about our businesses and how we want to grow things and that. And I said, well, I'm starting a new series in Seattle in 2008, and I'm thinking in 2009 I'll add another city, maybe somewhere in the Midwest. And then we just keep, chit-chatting and talking and eating lunch. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, the one gal pipes up and she says, you're going to Vancouver next, don't you? You might think you're going to the Midwest, but you're going to Vancouver next. Well, I didn't even know where Vancouver was. But I said, okay, I'll try to put that in my back pocket in the crazy psychic file or something and see what happens. Well, the next day was New Year's Eve, and we're supposed to go out to dinner, and drink champagne and all of that. And I wake up with the stomach flu. And I spend the whole day either in the bathroom or in bed. And in the middle of the afternoon, the phone rings, and I answer the phone, and here's a lady calling about the speakers that I'm bringing to Seattle. And she's this chatty Kathy and just talking away. And I've got nothing better to do, so I'm just laying there talking to her. And she says, I am so excited to see these people. I'm coming down for everyone. I said, well, where do you live? Vancouver. I hung up the phone and I said, okay, I'm going to Vancouver next.
I got the memo.
Yeah, and she did. She came down for every one of my shows. We got to be friends. I went and stayed with her, and she became my partner in Vancouver. Oh. And so, I've had so many incidences like that where you could see where it's perfectly orchestrated, and if you pay attention, you get the signs and the messages. Mm-hmm. So, and it's hard sometimes, but I like it when it's really obvious, right in my face, 2 or 3 times in a row that I can't miss it.
I'm all for that, too. If it's going to be a sign, I want it to be the neon one. I want to get it.
Yeah. So cause we walk around with blinders, and, our guides and our angels are going, no, don't do that, or go this way, and, we don't see it. And so, I always ask for really clear signs, in my face.
Yeah, I've sometimes turned down the volume if my team gets a little loud, which I'm sure they really don't appreciate.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, it's great when you start developing that inner guidance. And, I know that Kristi's a huge part of that for you, that you really kind of do connect with her quite a bit on decisions you make and moving forward. And then you've got your team. So, it doesn't get much better than that,
It is. It's really good. And it took me a long time to get to that place where I could connect with my guides and angels and trust that the voices in my head, I wasn't making it up, And I think a lot of people have that. One of the things that I found after Kristi died, and I started to open up, and I started to see signs from Kristi, little things, the pennies, the odd things, stuff that really kind of relate to Kristi and that. And so I'd be having lunch with a friend, and I'd be talking about these signs and the stories and things and that. And at first I felt like they were patronizing me. Oh, she lost her daughter, we'll listen to her stories and that. But the more I talked, the more people then would open up and share their story. And I think just about all of us have them. But we don't go there. We kind of tuck it away and don't talk about it and think we're making this up and that. And it just takes one person to say something, and the other person, it's like it makes it safe for them. Oh, I can talk about this to somebody. Somebody is not going to think I'm crazy. So I always encourage people, don't be afraid to share. I mean, sometimes you're going to be talking with some people and then right away, time to switch to football or something. They don't get it, but so many people do. It's amazing how many people are kind of in the psychic closet and they're just afraid to talk about it because, they think it's crazy or weird and whatever.
And, it's like it's not, because it's not really mainstream, although I do feel that we've been having shifts all the time, but I think during this period of time, we're actually going through a pretty remarkable time where people who have had experiences and that work in, like, let's say the medical field or something like that, I've heard a few of them share some of their experiences going, wow, I wouldn't have believed it, but this happened or that happened. And so, I think a little bit more, there's a little bit more openness because, people like you who, over the course of your journey have hosted events and brought wonderful people together that can talk about these things, because what ends up happening, you're 100% right, what ends up happening is when, let's say you have a question for yourself and what you're going through, there's probably, another 50 people or 100 people in that same room that have a very similar question or dealing with a similar issue. We all seem to kind of deal with things very close around what I've noticed around the same time.
Right, yeah. Well, when I was doing events at the Lincoln Center in Fort Collins, which seats about 1,200 people, and it would be so much fun to watch people. They'd come and then they'd run into their neighbor or their coworker I didn't know you were interested in this stuff, they'd say. But I always held my events in kind of like a neutral place. So it wasn't in a church or some place where people might feel uncomfortable or whatever. It was at the Lincoln Center. And then they'd go and they'd find, cohorts, people that were on the same page, and we're all looking for those, our peeps, where we belong, and that, so they're out there, and that, but until somebody says something. I did an interview once. There was a new magazine opening up in Fort Collins, a women's magazine, and they interviewed me. I was still working in the arts arena before I had actually quit my day job and just went with Bella Spark, my business. So I was still working in the arts arena, and this lady comes to interview me. Well, she was very interested in my life and that, and pretty soon I start telling all these woo-woo stories about this and this weird thing and that, and my daughter and the other side and blah, blah, blah. And then after the interview, I thought, oh, my God, if she writes all of that, people are going to think I'm crazy. I even called her up to see what if I could read the article before it went to print. She said no. And actually, she wrote about some of this stuff, but she did a really nice job. She didn't make me sound too weird. But I can't believe the number of people came up to me afterwards who saw that article, people I didn't even know, and thanked me for that. And then they would tell me their story. So I think it's really important that we not be afraid to admit who we are or what we've experienced in that, because pretty much everybody else has too. Even the ones who deny it, or don't want to go there, everybody's had them. And it gives them permission. And you might, find somebody, you might help somebody along the way, or you might find somebody that, you can open up and share with. You get new friends.
Oh, and it's really an authentic place to come from, being able to openly talk about, well, this experience happened to me, or that experience, because what I personally believe what it opens up is, when we talk about all these, fun, miraculous things that happen, it really opens up room for more magic in our life, Because we're like, well, this just happened, and then, before you know it, it could be if we're looking for signs and pennies, or if we're connecting, with our angels and guides, and we're wanting to make that connection, and, overnight, you've got the whole team talking to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I had experience. I had this song in my head, oh, Donna, oh, Donna,
that one.
over and over and over a week. It just kept playing, and I'm going, what is with this song? What am I missing? And I was getting on an airplane to go, give me this psychic. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, I have a new guide coming in. And so when I got there, I asked for confirmation, and Kimmy was doing some readings. She was busy. I met her at her shop, and she set me up for a reading with one of her partners, who's also a psychic. And sure enough, I had a new guide coming in, and she told me all about him and stuff like that. And then the song, then whenever that song would show up in my head, I knew it was him. So then all of my guides, they thought, well, if he can have a song, we should have a song. And so they all I have one guide that kind of sends me places, you need to go here and do this, or you need to go there and do that. So all of a sudden his song was Louie Lua, oh baby, we gotta go. So now I know who's talking to me, when I get messages. They sing me different songs, and then I know.
Oh my goodness. Well, and I get it, because when my team started talking to me, for me it was like overnight switch on, and it took a while for me, because they, some of them sounded pretty similar to me, so it took a little while for me to be able to go, oh, wait a minute, I would never say those words.
Right.
It's like, wait a minute, who am I talking with? And it's funny because, I came from a very, like a medical background, and so I was like, okay, very business corporate background. I'm like, they are going to have to find a padded room for me. I am losing it. And and it took me a little bit of an adjustment, but after a while, it's just kind of commonplace. It would be kind of weird if they weren't around.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and you can feel them. Everybody has their own specific abilities that they're better at. I have a friend who sees things really, really well, and I tend to hear and feel. I can feel the energy in my body. And the other day I was cooking at the stove, and I had a butter dish next to me with a knife on it. Well, all of a sudden that knife just flipped off and onto the floor. And then I had this jolt of energy. I mean, my body even twitched, and it was like, okay, somebody's here, who's trying to send me a message. But I tend to feel it, physically. I don't usually get butter things flipping out, but I get the energy. I feel the energy coming in, and so it's learning what works for you and how they're reaching you, and everything that's really important. And you just have to little time. I think that's the biggest thing, is to meditate or whatever works for you, to kind of shut your brain off and spend a little bit of time to figure out how you're getting the messages, to feel those connections. And it's so cool when you do. I also write a lot. I started writing. I learned that a few years ago, and so now when I meditate, I write. And then too, you wonder, am I making this up? But then you look if you read it after the fact, it's going, I would never write like this. I would never say this. I have a friend who's Suzanne Giesman, who's discovered she was a medium after her stepdaughter died. And she's an Army person, like a colonel in the Army. And so very left brain, very analytical in that. And she said, if you're talking to me, and she would write in that, I want it to come up in a way that I know it's you. So she started writing poetry. She said, I've never written poetry in my life. There's no way in hell I would ever do something like that. So she knew it wasn't coming from her.
We're going to pause here for a quick break. We've been talking with Donna Visocky. We'll be right back.
In 2012, after returning home from Iraq and Afghanistan, Sean Gobin hiked over 2,000 miles of the Appalachian Trail. Recognizing the therapeutic effects of long-distance hiking, Sean founded Warrior Expeditions, a veteran nonprofit therapy program that supports veterans transitioning from their military service by hiking America's national scenic trails. Equipment and supplies are provided, as well as assistance with job placement. For more info or to help support these veterans, visit warriorexpeditions.org.
Internationally recognized and award-winning author Judy Goodman works and teaches outside the box of limited thinking. Working with people from every walk of life, her goal is to empower you to be the best you can be, no matter what the challenge is. Born with the gift of seeing beyond our normal vision, she has an extraordinary gift of working with every challenge. Teaching beyond conventional wisdom, her work is described as life-changing. Visit judygoodman.com. That's judygoodman.com.
Have you ever had the sense that your thoughts might actually be doing something? Ancient secrets of manifesting have been masterfully revealed in the award-winning book Manifesting 1-2-3 by Ken Elliott. For the first time, the author's experiences and stories in this book describe exactly how your thoughts can create anything. You've been doing this all your life, but it's never been fully explained for you until now. Visit manifesting123.com for more information today. Manifesting123.com.
Are you an author looking for publicity for your book? If you're self-published or have worked through a traditional publisher, Marianne can help you get the media attention you require. Contact Marianne Pestana, literary publicist and host of Moments with Marianne, to create a winning plan of action. Marianne has helped authors become bestsellers and has received highly acclaimed media attention for her clients. Some of her work has received attention from ABC, NBC, CNN, CBS, Fox, and PBS, in addition to print and radio. She's a specialist in utilizing social media and her list of exclusive contacts to further the reach of your work. Contact MariannePestana.com to discuss the future of your work today. Ben Wexler is a gifted leadership development and strategy consultant for professionals who want to transform their organizations and careers. Through a uniquely personalized set of processes, participants discover their unique knowledge, how to leverage that knowledge and experience, and then put it all together with a global strategy. You're more valuable, your organization is more valuable, and the change is viral. Contact Ben at 630-881-1074, 630-881-1074.
During times of uncertainty, challenges, and change, how do we find a ray of hope to move forward? In Amy Van Adde-Slater's best-selling book, Moments, Magic, Miracles, and Martinis, she offers a torch of inspiration, motivation, mindfulness, and authenticity that illuminates even the most desperate of situations with possibility. Order your copy today to see what the buzz is all about at www.amyvslater.com.
Welcome back to Moments with Marianne. We're here with author Donna Visocky, and we've been talking about her book, I'll Meet You at the Base of the Mountain. So Donna, I've lost somebody that was very special to me, so I understand how hard it is.
And so it's tough when you lose somebody, regardless, I think it would be more difficult as a child, but, when you lose somebody that you're close to, I mean, there's a period of time I was walking around in a fog. I'm like, I had no idea what was going on, So,
yeah, I did a lot of that, and I describe it in my book in that, like I said, the beginning is very raw. But what I realized is that writing the book and putting it all down on paper, it was like closing that chapter in my life. And I remember at one point my guide said, you are more than just a mother who lost a child. You are more than your business, than Bella Spark. It doesn't define who you are. It's part of the fabric of your life, but it doesn't define who you are. And so it almost felt like I had taken all of that emotion and all of that pain and grief, not that it ever goes away. And there are times when it still wells up. It's my husband's birthday on Sunday, and we were both like, Kristi should be here, And so it still wells up in you, and you never lose it, but it was like, it's not all-consuming in my life anymore. And it's like I left that bag full of all this grief and this anger and this loss and whatever, and walked through the door and left it behind. That's what it felt like, that was what the whole purpose of writing the book was. It wasn't for anybody else, it was for me. It was all about me.
People do know it, but but again, here you write this book, and how many people has it helped? Because when you have that willingness to be so open about your journey and just what you've gone through, I mean, it resonates with a lot of people. Just about everyone's lost somebody.
Right.
So
and I hope it. I want it to help people. I hope it helps people in that. And, And so, but it was like, packing. That's why you said you need to write this down. It was like spilling my guts, and it's, it wasn't just Kristi's. I mean, my dad died when I was 15. I wrote about that. My sister died 2-3 years ago, and I wrote about that. And when my sister died, I looked at it differently. because I understood what was going on. I had a better connection to everything that was happening. So it was interesting, I knew she was going to be in a better place, and that it was all perfect. And putting it down in the book, it allowed me to let go of some of it, and not have to carry it all for myself.
Well, and that's important. It's not like when we lose somebody, it's not like we ever get over it, because that's not happening. But we're able to at least walk through it, and there is some stuff that doesn't serve us later on, that we can say, well, you know what, okay, I've gone through this, and it still hurts, but it's not going to define me. I'm not going to be defined by my grief. And I've seen a lot of people met a lot of people who have done that, where, and it's not to, in any way, attempt to diminish their loss, but like 30 years later, they're still carrying around that grief like it just happened yesterday.
Right, yeah. And that's not healthy for anybody. Yeah.
No.
And things that I've learned, that our loved ones do live on. Our soul never dies. Most of us were raised in like Christian churches and stuff, and we all believed in this heaven and that we go there when we're dead, but nobody really believed that. There's so much proof out there now that, and I'll tell you, I have to tell you, my grandchildren are my biggest teachers. Because our loved ones are around us all the time. They're here with us, our guides and angels. We're not alone. And my grandchildren, they see Kristi. They see my daughter, my sister, and my daughter. It's like they see them now more now than they did when they were alive. And I have fascinating stories about them. My grandson, this is my son's little boy, he was 6 when his Auntie Kristi died. And she would show up in his room. Hi, Nick, how you doing? And and she would always, just like be around and visit with him and play with him and stuff like that. When he was 9, he would walk home and be home alone for about an hour until his dad got home. And I would ask him, have you seen Kristi lately? What's she up to? I said, have you seen Kristi lately? He said, she sits on the couch with me after school until my dad gets home. And so here, he's got his Auntie Kristi sitting next to him, keeping him safe until his parents get home. And they see, I asked them one time, I said, well, what does it look like? And they said, it's like looking at me, you or me, in full color and everything, and but they have like a dark shadow around them. That's what they see, anyway. And so they've been my biggest teachers. My sister died a couple of years ago, and she didn't have any children of her own, and she was really close with my grandchildren. And shortly after she died, maybe about a month later, I was babysitting my granddaughter, who was 7 or, she was 9 or 8 or 9 at the time. And I slept with her, and we woke up the next morning, and she says, Nana, do you want to play I Spy? I Spy with my little eye, that game you play with kids. And I said, sure. And she said, well, Mooney plays I Spy with me all the time. Mooney, that's what we called my sister, Mooney. And I said, well, when did you see Mooney? And she said, she sleeps with me every night. Aww. And so here Auntie Mooney, with her, again, keeping her safe, playing with her every night. All 3 of my grandchildren see. And so, we talk about it. I don't see like that. I'm really jealous of them. Like I said, I hear and I feel, but I don't see her. But they just connect, and so I know that Kristi's around all the time. I asked my grandson, one of my grandsons is 14 now. He was a baby, when Kristi died, like 1 year old. And he sees my sister, all the time. I said, have you seen Mooney lately? He said, yep, every night. She tucks him in and kisses him on the forehead every single night. He's had experiences where some of the stuff he's seen since the time he was little kind of scares him.
Oh, yeah.
So she's there every night to let him know he's safe, and she's watching over him. And he's 14.
That is, and, for children that are open, and, that says a lot about, about their parents and about you, that, cultivate that kind of environment where it's okay to be able to see, and to, and that's not shut down like it,
right.
Does
well, and I think
I
think we all had that ability, even us, when we were little. But again, it wasn't accepted. Nobody talked about it, and you made it, just kind of said, oh, that's your imaginary friend or whatever. They got a great imagination or whatever, and then you kind of don't go there anymore. But we talk about it. It's not that I push them or anything, but I'll just ask them every once in a while, have you seen so and so or this one? And they still do. And sometimes they share with me when something interesting happens. Hey, you should see what happened, with Mooney the other night, or Kristi, or whoever. But I think the new children coming in are much more sensitive and much more open, and they already vibrate at a higher frequency than we do, or we did.
Yeah. They come wired for it.
Yeah, just like the internet, They're already wired.
Just like being able to use, an iPhone, or be able to figure out the TV in 2 seconds flat. They come wired for it.
Yeah, so their frequency is higher, and that's what it takes. To connect with somebody from the other side. Is like we have to raise our frequency, and they have to lower theirs. And so if, with any luck, you can kind of meet in the middle, and then you're connected. These kids got it already,
Oh, they're, and, but again, I mean, what a great, because you guys, you and your children really do allow for discussion about that. And so it really encourages them to be open and talk about what they're seeing and how they're feeling, and so you have all this delicious discussion going back and forth in regards to this,
And I think our job is to cultivate that with kids and to recognize that it can happen for us too. It's easier for them, but it can happen for us, and it is possible. There's so many movies that are coming out lately that just fascinate me. And did you see the movie The Giver?
No, I have not.
You read that book?
No, not yet.
I highly recommend it, and it's based on a book, The Giver. And but these people, it's a post-apocalypse community or whatever, and they live in this world where everything is like gray, in shades of gray, and everything's kind of structured, and everything's controlled, and they never realize that there's a whole other world out there. And this one young man starts seeing like an apple. Their apples are gray. Well, he starts seeing a red apple. Or he starts, seeing that the sunshine, or the leaves are green in that, and you got to, watch the movie and read the book. It's really, really good.
But I'll have to check that out for sure.
Yeah, but it makes, it's to me, it's a metaphor for there's a whole other world around us of beings and frequencies and vibrational levels that we can't see, that we don't recognize they're there, but they're there. And I feel like our loved ones, and that they're just outside of our range of seeing and hearing and that most of the time. But they're there. They're around us all the time.
Yeah, I saw something just recently that talks about how the human eye and brain actually only take in, it was a very small percentage. It was like 2% of what we actually see and have around us.
Yeah.
So there's a whole other percentage that we haven't even, that we're not even comprehending. It's just too much,
Yeah, but we're moving in that direction. I think that's the exciting piece, is that we're all moving. The frequency on the planet, the vibration, we're raising our vibration. It's an exciting time.
Mhm. Yeah. There is a lot of amazing things that are going on right now, and so, I don't know. You're right. It really is a great time to be here. I heard an interview that you were talking about how you were drawn to Shambhala, in Red Feather.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny. When I first came to Colorado, I actually rented a cabin not far away from there. That was like part of the selling point. It's like, oh, fabulous. It has a jacuzzi, because I left a very high sales position. I was a VP of sales with a company. And so left that, and I was just, it was just like overload. But I actually, was chatting with some friends about headed back up that way, but I love going up to that Buddhist temple.
It's an amazing space in Colorado, and I've only been there a few times, but, one of my stories is I brought Don Miguel Ruiz in, the author of the Four Agreements, who's such a beautiful, beautiful man, but he came in early. Like an extra day early, and it's like, well, why is he here an extra day early? And what am I supposed to do with him? And it was a beautiful fall day, so we jumped in the car and we went for a drive up the Poudre Canyon, and all of a sudden here's this sign, Shambhala, and he'd never been there before, so we turned in, of course, and we go into the temple, and so you go into this beautiful stupa with this big Buddha inside, and you meditate. And the minute I sat down, I heard, this is when you start believing, because this isn't my voice talking in my head. I hear this message that said, thank you for bringing him here. It is time for him to merge his energy with ours. And what I saw was like this globe of the planet, like the Earth, with these little lights, kind of scattered around the Earth. Little lights, twinkle lights, here, there, and wherever. And how they're starting to grow and they're starting to connect and that. And what I got was he carries this Toltec energy, this beautiful, beautiful energy from the Toltec lineage. And then this holy place in Shambhala in Red Feather, Colorado, carries, a special energy. And so I saw it, like connecting. So it was all perfect. And when I asked his assistant who was with him, how come you came in Thursday instead of Friday or whatever? And she said, we tried. We knew this is when we were coming, and we tried to book it, and nothing would work. So I had to come in a day early. And so, it was all perfect. Mm-hmm. And so there's amazing things that happen all the time, and we just have to be open to them and accept them. So it's fun.
Well, I would agree with you. In fact, I met Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. not very long ago, and man, what an amazing family. They've got an amazing energy with them. So, what a great story, and just wonderful people.
They are, and I want people to know that Don Miguel gives the best hugs. And as we drove back down the canyon from Shambhala, we stopped at this wild, crazy biker bar on the river and had cheeseburgers and beer. So you can still be special and holy and operate at a high vibration and have cheeseburgers and beer.
Hey, there are no rules with that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people assume that people are supposed to be a certain way or act a certain way. So, that's actually perfect.
You can have.
Because, mm-hmm.
And when I was with Jose Ruiz, his other son, we drank Japanese beer. So you don't have to be perfect and do yoga all the time, and that you can still be spiritual.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times when people think about starting a spiritual journey, and this is probably a perfect example, they think that they have to do yoga all the time or meditate for 5 hours or, something that's kind of crazy like that, where, a spiritual journey could be going through life's challenges and, and coming out the other side, and
most of the time, I think that's what it is, is going through challenges. I think, that's why we're here. We come here to experience different things to help our soul to grow and evolve. And it doesn't happen if everything's hunky-dory and peace and grace all the time.
Yeah, if it was, we wouldn't do anything.
Exactly. At the time it sucks. When you're in the middle of it, it really sucks. But people say that. I have. There was an article in the newspaper not too long ago about a young man. He was in the service in Iraq, and he got hit by a roadside bomb. And it took his eyes out. It kind of blew off his forehead, and he lost his sight. And he now he works with guide dogs. He went to college. He got his degree. He works with guide dogs, and now he's helping other people like himself how to work with guide dogs, how to turn their life around, and everything. But what he said, it changed the trajectory of my life. He said, I would not be the person I am today if that hadn't happened. And he also said it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Now, who says that, when something horrible happens? But that's why we're here.
Especially with something like sight, because, that's with any tragedy. But, it reminds me, I met... he's actually up in the Fort Collins area, Dan Berlin. He's a blind marathon runner, and he lost 25. They own Riddell's up in Fort Collins, and so they do the vanilla extract. But, I mean, so he travels. He's got a team, and basically they travel and do these runs. And they collect money and give it to different schools for the blind in different areas or different countries. And he said pretty much the same thing. It's like, losing his sight was probably one of the best things that ever happened to him, just because of how he was able to really explore life in a different way.
Right, yeah. And, I don't know if I could ever say losing my daughter is one of the best things that ever happened to me, but it changed the trajectory of my life. It really did. And I know that I wouldn't be who I am or done what I've done or experienced what I've experienced if that hadn't happened. Yeah. And like I said, it's really hard when you're in the middle of it. But in hindsight, as you walk through it, and come out the other side, you can see the difference it made in your life.
For our listeners out there that are right now going through the loss of a loved one, what one piece of advice would you like to leave them with? That you will survive. And, people told me that, and you think I'll never survive this, but you will. And to, wallow for a while if you have to wallow, and then, take the next step and just keep moving forward. And you will be guided, and they are with you all the time, and they're helping you and showing you the way, and trust that it's all, it's okay. It's okay, and you will come out the other side. And it might take a while, but there's a reason, and when Kristi says we agreed to do this, I thought, what the hell was I thinking? You're like, I don't remember this agreement. This didn't happen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I see it now. Again, it's taken me 13 years to get to this place, but it's okay.
I mean, every journey has, there's no judgment in the journey,
Mhm.
you get to a place when you get to a place, and as horrible as all of that was, I can see what you're talking about, where it did move you forward, and there are blessings that were given to you through this experience. So
right. Yeah, it's perfect. I give a talk about Earth School and how we all signed up to go to Earth School, and we picked these lessons because we wanted to learn or experience this. And it sounds a little crazy, but I come to believe that that's true.
No, I agree with you. With you. I think that there are certain things our soul sets out to do while we're here. And to either grow or experience, and other people, we are here to help each other out.
Right.
During that process.
Yeah. And just trust, trust that everything will be okay. And, sometimes I think, compared to what some people have suffered, my life is pretty good. It's, I'm very lucky. I say often, I'm very lucky that I chose, to live here in this place in this time, and I'm not in those some of those countries in Africa or wherever. How lucky am I? And yes, I've had experienced a lot of loss, but it's still, there's people who have it worse than me. So, yeah.
Well, gratitude's definitely a big part of my journey, so I understand, and it really is, and not to say that we don't acknowledge the pain, but there's still a lot to be grateful for, regardless what we're going through at whatever point,
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of tough. Well, I know our listeners can connect with you on your website, and that's they'll also be able to click on the link below to go ahead and visit your website and order your book and follow your blog and learn what events you have coming up. Yeah,
I'd love that. I'd love to connect with people. If anybody wants to, reach out to me or has any questions, they can reach me at my email address, donna@bellaspark.com. It's BELLASPARK.com. One Spark. We're all a magnificent One Spark. I bless everybody who's, walking their own journey, and that they find some of the answers that they're seeking.
Definitely. Well, Donna, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciate you taking this time out of your schedule to be with us and share your story with us. And we really do honor Kristi and everything that she continues to do,
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful to visit with you today, Marianne.
You too, Donna. And for all of our listeners out there, I'd like to thank you for tuning in today. And remember, make every moment count.
Join us next time for Moments with Marianne, when host Marianne Pestana brings another inspirational gifted leader to help us grow. Tune in every second Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for Moments with Marianne, when the Dream Vision 7 radio network is at 1510 a.m. Boston. Or catch Moments with Marianne every Thursday and Friday at 5 p.m. and 5 a.m. Eastern Time by going to dreamvision7radio.com. To learn how Marianne started her business from the ground up, visit mariannepestana.com. Don't miss this, and remember, make every moment count.